Hello everyone. In a prior recording I talked about the Micro Center blog post and some concerns I had regarding not only their PC builds but their practices as a business. So I've been looking for some workarounds to the issue mentioned, and I'll go and give a quick recap of that. The G509 is their cheapest build at Micro Center that comes with a dedicated video card as far as I can tell. The main issue with this is it has a Cooler Master white MWE power supply in it. These are power supplies that don't have reviews on them, and there are forum posts that just say to avoid Cooler Master in general when it comes to power supplies. So I'm inclined to listen to that because there are certainly better quality power supplies out there. I don't know why they would build with that, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, a lot of brand names are going to cheap out on the power supply. Some are worse than others. I would say Micro Center is probably not the worst, but it would have been nice if they did something a bit different. But that's besides the point. So I think I might have found a workaround for that. Let me go and tab over. I just recently responded to a comment regarding this particular power supply. I did find out that I have an older version of this, so the newer one has different measurements than the one I have. But it's still a very compact power supply. Also, I think they have their website a bit backwards because you'll notice that on the dimensions, it says width, length, height, but then in parentheses it's length, width, height. So they've completely reversed directions on their own typing on the website there, but it's 150 millimeters long, I'm pretty sure. At least the new one. The one I have is a little bit shorter than this, but whatever. Anyways, so this would certainly be a workaround, I think. I'd have to double check the measurements because unfortunately the G509 does use a MATX case, Lanley 215 to be precise. The MW wide is actually kind of a tight fit as is. I can barely fit 2 fingers between the power supply and I'm guessing the hard drive cage. So I will have to see if that hard drive cage can be removed or not as well to determine how tight of a fit this is going to be or if it will even work at all. But I'm thinking that this is what I will try first. Now, again, I have the old version, not the new one, so you're just looking at this. But you can see that there's not much of a difference between the Antec HCG Gold and the power supply that's in there. Here's the power supply that's in the G509, I'm pretty sure. You can see that its dimension is exactly 140 in length, so it's only 10 millimeters shorter than the newer HCG Gold. At least the one that's new to me, I should say. But yeah, so I'm thinking that will be a workaround for the G509. You'll have to give me time to figure that out. But anyways, I want to also talk about some of the other brand names because they present some issues. Let's start with... Oh. Actually, I think I've linked this before in my other recordings, but just in case I haven't, because I'm a scatterbrain, I forget quite a bit of what I do, but there is a really great forum post here at the Linus Tech Tip forums that basically lists all the power supplies in their different tiers. It's not a review, but it gives you a pretty good list to work with. What you can do is take this list and just Google search reviews for those, and you should be able to find some reviews for it. It's actually why I stick to the Antec series of power supplies, that are Seasonic. It's because I recognize these to be very high tier power supplies at a very low cost. Right now, the Antec HCG Gold, 650 watts, $90 at Amazon, $90 USD. The Seasonic can be found, the Seasonic Focus Gold can be found at Best Buy for like $120. So it seems like to me that the Seasonic's really easy to get a hold of. And while $120 is kind of high, I guess you're paying for convenience at that point. So I'm okay with that, if that's what people want. It's certainly a better idea than Corsair right now. But There's also the Antec Earthwatt skulls that can sometimes be found for pretty cheap too. Those are generally the 3 power supplies I'll go to. Oh, I guess I can talk about that real quickly. So Corsair power supplies, the reason I'm avoiding them, it's not because they're bad. I mean, they're certainly quality power supplies, but the issue is the cost, right? So a quality Corsair power supply, I think it's the semi-modular one. Yeah, I think it's that semi-modular one. I just can't think of the model name. Yeah, those come in around $90 to $95, and they're bronze. Screw that. I would sooner get a much higher quality power supply that's gold rated for the exact same cost or cheaper. That's just my philosophy. And that's how I look at things. But that's just me. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's talk about the NZXT build program, because this is probably the other brand name that you want to be really careful about when buying it. So the thing with the NZXT build thing is that they use their H510 case, and the 510 is not known for airflow. It gets incredibly hot in the case in comparison to other cases around that price range. It's not a good. It's good build quality, but it's not a good case overall. Like, that's the only redeeming quality is the build quality. There's actually a good video by Gamers Nexus, which I have up in the other tab, and that's for the 510 Elite. The 510 series follows the same design, in which it has one 120mm roof fan and one 120mm rear fan, and those are your only exhaust or air intake options, because the front has no airflow. So you're entirely reliant on 2 fans for either exhaust or intake. From what I've read from other tech people, they say to put the 2 fans on exhaust, creating negative pressure. That's the fix to this. I don't know why NZXT has not figured this out and made that standard with their BLD program, but it's an easy enough fix if you absolutely are gonna be forced to buy the BLD. Just take one of the front fans and just assign it to either the roof or the rear, wherever it's placed. That'll fix a good chunk of your heat issues. So yeah, I would say that this is probably should be your last resort, because honestly, there's much higher quality out there. With that said, I want to just quickly deviate into Artesian builds, because this bothers me right here. If you look at their streaming or gaming PCs, look what's the standard case. It's NZXT 510s and one 710. Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to be wary of Artesian just because of this right here. They probably have a deal with NZXT in terms of like getting a bunch of cases at a good cost, but no deal is worth poor airflow. It really isn't. They should be using other cases. That said, there is one brand name I would like to point out. Oops, I see I didn't do this. Okay, let me just fix that real quickly. There we go. Okay, so this is Evolve PC. Evolve PC is a relatively new custom PC builder that sprung up in Dallas, Texas. The thing that I really like about Evolve is they know what they're doing. Whenever you talk to a staff member, they will know exactly why they chose that particular part for this particular build. It's crazy at how much they know their own builds and how much they know. One of the other things, too, that I can give them props for is not using NZXT cases as their standard configuration. You'll notice for this particular one, it uses the Fantex. I don't know Fantex all that well, but anything's better than an NZXT, I would imagine. So, yes, I do give them props for their knowledge and overall awareness of build quality. So, assuming that we can fix the shortage, then I would totally recommend Evolve over most other brand name companies. Let me deviate real quickly into brand names and the parts. There are going to be brand names like HP Omen, Dell, Alienware. I think Lenovo does it, but they use custom motherboards or custom BIOSes, which make it kind of difficult to upgrade a particular computer. If you're going to be buying a brand name or pre-built, then I would highly recommend that you purchase one that uses brand name components like Asus motherboards or something like that. Then it's much easier to upgrade. You don't have to worry about custom crap getting in your way, and it just overall makes it easier to control the quality of the entire build. That's another reason too I recommend brands like Evolve, because they are using brand name parts in their builds. One last thing I would like to cover while I'm on this little topic is ITX. Okay. I get so tired of people saying that ITXs are too small for the average user. It's complete and utter BS. If you're a gamer or even a streamer, you shouldn't need more than a M2 SSD slot and a PCI X16 for the video card. If you need anything more than that, then okay, fine, you can move to MATX, and then if that's not enough, fine, ATX. But even an MATX will have a PCI X16, PCI X1, and M2 slot. ITX won't have the PCI X1, but a lot of the stuff that people use PCI X1s for these days, they're things that you can get a USB version for. Usually it's capture cards for streamers, would be a good example. Capture cards can fit in the X1 slot, some of them anyways, but you can also get a USB version of it. So I wouldn't say that this is a reason to avoid ITX. Size. So another thing too that people say is that it's not going to be easy to work with, and that's BS too. It will be a little bit more difficult to work with than your normal builds, but it's certainly not difficult, especially if you pick the right case. I want to point out this case right here as the example, the one that's been on the screen. This is a Silverstone Sugo 14. This is an ITX case that can fit an RTX 3090. Okay? There is hardly any limits of what video card you can shove in there. Some of the other stuff might be limited, like the power supply, CPU, cooler clearance, and things like that. But you can 100% shove a 3090 in there, and it will fit. As you can see with this picture, it really doesn't have a big issue with video cards that are that large, where they have 3 fans. Also, this is one of the few ITXs that I'm aware of that actually has 3 expansion slots. Notice that as well. When you put a video card in a system, it will be either 2.5, 2, or 3 slots. This case happens to have 3. It's a very large ITX case, for sure, but it is an ITX case nonetheless. There will be brand names that do ITX builds out there, and I've certainly seen them, like Falcon Northwest. Don't ignore them. I assure you, if they are using the correct case, you will have plenty of expansion room. So, yeah, that's all I really want to say on this. Thanks for listening.